What's up, Johnny Gomez?
Luis Munoz, Modern Guitar Tech. What's going on, dog?
What's up, Cute Rigs? We should just let's call each other that, like in regular.
Just Cute Rigs.
What's up, Cute Rigs? No, yours sounds kind of nice.
Does
Cute
it?
Rigs. Mine would be like, "What's up, Modern Guitar Tech?"
That sounds robotic, yeah.
Lame.
Enrique Hinojosa. What's up, Enrique?
Enrique the Big Bang Hinojosa, dude.
Fuck yeah, bro.
He's the best producer we've ever had. Yeah. He's also the only producer.
No, we kind of had Chris, remember?
He meant well.
Fired his ass, dude. Fired his ass.
Oh, we love you, Chris.
We do.
He's the nicest guy.
Oh, that's hilarious, dude.
He really tried.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to today's episode. And what's on the agenda today, Johnny boy?
Oh, man. Something we run into a lot, I feel like, in both our different businesses is sort of, this... Some folks have a relentless pursuit of perfection, whether it's in their tone, their action, their setup, their tuning. Is there an end game there? Is it possible to reach that perfection? Or do you just do your best to get them as close to that? I think there's a lot to talk about there that I'm pretty excited to dig into because I feel like we get that a lot.
Like example would be...
Some folks have gotten hung up on, specs on paper for, say, cabling. I really need this capacitance. I really need this input impedance on this buffer. I really, stuff that I think, and we'll get into it, but I'm not sure it makes as big a difference as they want it to. But then on the other hand, if that's what lets them do their thing, then obviously there's something to be said for it. So what about you? Do you ever run into anything like that?
Yeah, like pots, or you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, there's definitely like a difference between like a 500 meg pot versus like a 1K.
Sure.
But like, when people will get, they'll be like, "Oh, I want like a 470."
Right.
Or I want like a perfect 500.
Right.
Like when you buy pots online, like if you just order like CTS pots, like a Fender pot or something like that, and it says 500, that's just rounded up to 500. When you measure the pot, right? Because when you actually measure it, it can range anywhere from like 450 to 500.
Yeah.
So you try and get to that number as close as you can. There's companies that sell
for more money.
yeah, exactly. And I guess that is that. Yeah. Like,
and the difference, there are differences. I guess the difference, or the point being, is it negligible? Because it's usually a pretty small percentage of, of a difference. Sure. I feel like, but we'll get real nerdy about it. Sounds like a real nerdy topic today.
Yeah.
So,
but we'll keep it fun. We'll keep it light and fun.
Yeah.
For all the people that
make
don't
it accessible.
Know. But show. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, man. Any music news?
Yeah. What did we want to talk about? Oh, the Kanye West thing. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah. No, we wanted to talk about, we had a few topics.
Yeah.
As far as like the new stuff. Last week we talked about Giacomo and forgiving Giacomo.
Sort of, yeah.
To
an extent.
Seems like now like everyone's has some kind of video about him.
Yeah.
And actually the more that I dug in after we did our podcast, now I'm kind of like, a lot of the stuff that I'm like seeing is like, it's kind of slimy. But
you want to take it back?
Yeah. I don't know. No, I still forgive the kid, but anyways, that horse has been beaten to death.
But now, we got the takeover, the rise of the machines. A lot of people are freaked out because it's going around that SoundCloud announced, or they didn't announce, they sneakily changed their like terms of service to say that, by submitting any or uploading any music or anything to SoundCloud, it is used to train AI. And a lot of people use SoundCloud to upload demos of tracks, ideas, share stuff, DJ mixes. And so now you are consenting to letting AI, learn this stuff, which I kind of feel like these days you upload anything anywhere, that's probably happening. So it's interesting that SoundCloud's kind of getting this very specific focus on it, but I feel like that's kind of just happening everywhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, who reads these consent?
Somebody did, apparently.
I mean, yeah, that's hilarious, because it's like, honestly, I mean, I don't know what the hell I've consented to in my life.
Sure.
Like with all these companies. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It's been years since I've
same
put any music on SoundCloud, and and I guess that's what AI is gonna. I don't know who's still putting music on SoundCloud.
Sure. Yeah,
that sounds very ignorant and arrogant. So if you're putting, I mean, whatever. I guess that sucks.
Yeah.
But I mean, I understand the concerns of just AI in general, in a lot of things, I guess it's how you see it, from what angle, I mean, I don't know, to train it to do what, to write music for TV and film, or to help organize things, to help
one of the things I read was, there's a lot of comments on it, and it's funny because one person had said something like, people upload demos up there or half-finished songs, so we're just trading AI to write shitty half-finished songs.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not that big
I
a
guess
deal.
that's what I'm trying to say. It's I mean, I know that there's probably people that I don't know, but
But if you upload an idea or a draft or a teaser or a preview of something you're working on Instagram, people post on their stories cooking, and there's little ideas there that they're working on. Is that not the same? I'm sure Meta is definitely
stealing your shit.
Has to be, right?
Training its powerful.
So maybe it's not that different. I don't know. Do you find it problematic? Do you think it's as big a deal as people are making it out to be?
Yes, I do, which is funny, but this is going to sound fucked up, but I don't care. Let me explain.
I'm drinking water, bro. What do you do?
Let me explain. Okay, how do I get out of this hole?
Yeah.
Let me see. What I'm trying to say. To say is that I guess I don't know the I see it from the perspective of a company.
Sure.
Because I don't know. It's from a company's perspective, it's dude, if I could hire a tech robot, that's gonna cost me, I don't know, $20,000, and it's just gonna do the job of, fucking Mao, who's out there right now working, versus having an employee, and then it's the state requires you to now pay for their health insurance and do all these things. It's from a company's I'm not defending anyone, even my, but what did you expect was going to happen?
Sure.
I think this is what I always say with AI when it comes to these conversations. If you're really basic and just generic in whatever it is that you do in life, your job is probably going to get replaced.
Okay.
And when it comes to music, I feel exactly the same. It's if you're just writing really just generic, basic music that AI can duplicate and replicate, and it's probably now there, then yeah, you probably should be concerned. And at some point, we all go through our career where it's you are in that point where you just suck, but you're growing.
Sure.
There's a guy by Seth Godin. His name is Seth Godin, and I
You got all his books, dude.
I do, and I love him, and he always talks about. He's been talking about AI for years.
Okay.
Years, and he's got a quote in there somewhere about tasks are for robots,
right?
And art is for humans.
Yeah.
And because even with AI or not, like it's hard to make it in the music industry.
Sure. Yeah.
It's kind of what we were talking about last week, you know, where it's just like you kind of have to have like a side hustle type thing while you're trying to do that. It's tricky because you're juggling things. But I don't know. I guess that's my stance. It's like, look, if you rely on like making beats by using Splice and all these other services and you're not really creating anything, then you're probably in trouble.
Got you.
But if you're a musician and you can actually play an instrument and you can play live and you're using that instrument as a tool, as it should be, like you're probably going to be able to find some kind of audience.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like
people connect with people. People connect with somebody, an artist's story, an artist's journey, their art, and what they're making, right? Instead of just some machine's perception of that, I guess.
Dude, Snoop Dogg, I think it was like I might have sent it to you. Like he posted like an AI song. And it was like really good. Like a guy used AI to kind of like sing over a track that he had made.
Yeah.
And it was like really good.
There's Randy Travis.
Who's that?
Country artist, legend.
Really?
I think through the 90s. And he's got a health thing going on. He can't sing anymore. He's got a classic voice that I remember hearing growing up whenever people listen to country music. And now with AI, he's able to hire a band to record his songs. And then they trained AI to like copy his voice. And now he can hear himself singing these songs because he can't sing anymore. That seems pretty cool.
Yeah. I guess that's what I'm saying. It's like it's a tool.
Right.
Like it's a, how do you say it? It's like a cheap commodity. Like of course it's like, look, if you just need generic non-licensed music for like you know, your Instagram reel or your YouTube thing, it's like there's going to be a market for that type of stuff too. But
I guess it's interesting because it's almost like the argument for or against even like auto-tune. You know, it's a tool. It should be used as a tool, right? That's interesting. That's an interesting perspective. I didn't think of it that way.
Because art is so subjective.
Right.
You know, it's just like, it's, I mean, again, the whole poor kid, man, but the whole Giacomo thing, it's like, dude, you're playing these parts really like slowed down and then you're speeding them up.
Yeah. In some cases, it's also MIDI.
Or whatever it is. It's like, it sounds too clean and too perfect.
Right.
Where it's like, I don't know.
I do feel like humans notice that to an extent. Maybe
I think they do.
Not immediately, maybe not on the surface, but maybe there's something I feel like, because every time I've heard him play before all this, people would send me and stuff. I just always felt like something is not working for me.
Yeah. Well, that's why I always laugh at like when I was, you know, like really playing guitar and like I would like read the tabs.
Yeah.
You know, like Little Wing.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like little, like, you know how they tab out like every fucking little thing?
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, in my head, I was like, that's got to be a mistake. But that's how he played it. So now it's like on the tab.
Yeah.
So now it's almost like it's scripture.
Sure.
And if you don't play that like open A right before you hit that, it's like I don't think Hendrix was like,
I'm going to hit this open A.
Do you know what I mean? It's like it becomes this beautiful little just accident.
Right.
And I guess that's what I mean was like that will always exist. And I think that will always attract just
the happy accidents. Yeah.
Like human interaction and this connection.
You go to the Experience Hendrix tour, 10 different guys are going to play Little Wing, but they all have, you could tell who's who still because they have their own touch, their own sound. Yeah.
You know, but I guess to reiterate, I would say that if you're like just some like dude that's like making, not that there's anything wrong with it, you know, but you're like downloading samples of Splice because you can't really play anything and you're hiring people on Fiverr and look, that's cool. But like, that's as generic as it gets. And I think for the most part, I mean, you could look at it from like a point of view of like, yeah, AI should just get rid of all these people. Or it should force you as a human being to be like, well, maybe I should learn how to play something and actually have a skill.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know what it's like to run a corporation that has like, I don't know, 500 employees.
I do think it's funny when people get upset that these big companies, SoundCloud now or Instagram, you'll see posts like, stuff will go around when people are sharing the stories. Like, I do not allow Instagram to use my. It's like,
fuck up.
You accepted the terms.
Yeah. Also, nobody gives a shit. No one's stealing your fucking dumb. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, but it's like, but I guess it's that. It's like it's either this,
right?
And I mean, it sucks because I feel like I'm defending now this corporation, and everyone's gonna be like, "Fuck you, dude." But
yeah,
but it's like it's either this or what people in like the 60s and 70s used to do, where it's like, oh, you actually, if you want to record a song, you have to go to a studio,
right,
and pay a shit ton of money,
right,
and you actually kind of have to play.
You showed up ready.
You show up. You know what I mean? It's like, which there was some benefits to that.
Sure. Okay.
Versus now, like, oh, it's just some guy who's making beats on my computer, and then I'm gonna upload it, and it's good or it's generic, and then now I'm gonna be pissed off because it's like they're training AI.
You're brainwashed, dude. You got a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
Am I? Dang, dude. You go to therapy. Have Dan Gilbert help you out, dude.
Oh, lordy, Lord. But that's my stance. That's my stance, and I'm sticking to it, bro.
Cool. Yeah, I feel you.
What do you?
Yeah, I think it's funny. I'll go from like AI should just stay out of art. AI should be, that saying that's been going around, like AI should be, cleaning my dishes and doing my laundry so that I can create art and not be distracted by this stuff. And going with some of what you said, I do agree. Like you said, learn an instrument, learn how to sing, learn to do stuff. But then on the other hand, like, it's almost like anybody should be able to create, whether it's, maybe they're a person that has ideas and they don't know how to play anything, but they can put together parts and arrange stuff together. I do feel like people should be allowed to create however they need to, whether that's using AI or different tools or samples or loops or whatever. But I do think there's something to be said, which I agree with you, is like, if you work at your craft and your technique and whatever you're good at, no machine or tool is going to match that, because it's your sound, it's your expression, it's your touch on the instrument. So I do agree with that. It's tricky because, on one hand, I don't want to gatekeep creativity and however that may be for anybody. But then at the same time, like, why put yourself in a position where you have to be afraid of AI taking over?
I don't know if it's gatekeeping. In my mind, it's like no one's stopping you from doing it, but it's like this like expectation that somehow now you're like entitled to make a living doing it.
Yeah.
That's the part that bothers me.
Got you.
That's the part that's like, look, I'm making these shitty fucking beats and cool, great. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you're going to have a super successful career and that people should pay money to listen to your stuff.
Sure.
Like, it's inevitable in any industry. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're a shitty guitar tech and you don't get any work, is that society's fault?
Right. Okay.
If you don't level up, if you don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and
It's
I
valid.
think in society, dude, I went to go return an Amazon package the other day, and I get it. Your job is monotonous and boring, and it's like the girl, literally, for those people that can't see it, it's like, dude, she was on her phone. She had her phone, and then she had the little scanner thing, and she was like reading some kind of something. And then, dude, we walked up, and I gave her the packages, and she grabbed the thing, scanned it, the label printed, put it on the packages, threw it, gave her the other package, scanned it. Not once did she look up at me. I get it. Your job probably does suck. I wouldn't want to do that.
Sure.
But just no fucking passion for like anything. I get it, but I feel like if I was in that position, and I've had regular jobs, I have had like minimum wage jobs. It's like, dude, you make the best of it.
Sure.
You know, and someone will be like, oh, well, you know, you don't know if she was having. It's like, dude, it's just like this like coddling of like everyone, especially when it comes to like arts. It's like this like, not saying everyone, but you know, I'm just trying to tie it into like, look, if you're just making basic generic things, AI will 100% take over, and you won't have a career, but you never did.
Right.
Let's define what a career is.
Got you. Okay.
If you're not making a living making music, that's not a career.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it's not. And get over it.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess it's just that. I mean, it's a harsh stance, but
sure. No.
That's where I stand.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's the topic.
Brought to you by SoundCloud.
Am I?
Yeah, and am I? Which I can't seem to
this
like.
dude can't let go, man.
That is just.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Anyways,
man. Well, shoot.
Good ass news, dude.
Yeah, dude.
I wish everyone well out there. Good luck.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
I needed to. Well, with that, you know, going with robotic perfection of generic AI generated music, you know, it kind of ties in with our topic today of, is it artistic? What is it? This relentless pursuit of perfection in your tools, essentially, right? Not even what you're creating, but what you're using to create with. And I feel like we have a really interesting perspective as far as our clients go, and like sort of some of the requests we get. And, you know, we're being hired because they trust they trust that we know what we're doing. Do you have any experiences with clients that have interesting requests and ideas and things, and how do you approach them? How do you deal with it? Do you ever just throw in the towel and draw a line and say, this is not possible, you just have to deal with it? Or do you get as close as possible and not say it and just hope that they roll with it? Like, what are your experiences with that kind of thing? And what kind of stuff do they ask for? And, you know,
I think like the older I've gotten, and like I feel like I've been doing this now, I feel more confident telling people no.
Sure.
You know, where I think in the beginning I was like, well, who am I to tell this person that we shouldn't do this?
Yeah,
you know,
same.
one of more, it kind of scarred me. It kind of like, I'll bring up a specific one.
We got stories, man.
We got stories, but it's like when I was a little younger and I had just gone on my own, and, you know, I really wanted this thing to work, so I would say yes to everything. And I've left that video up on my YouTube. You can go watch it. Where it's like, I weight relief.
Oh, man. I remember
a
this.
Les Paul.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was like an R9 or an R7. And it was for a client that he was like, oh, it's just a little too heavy. And he's like, I just want to make it a little lighter. I remember thinking, first of all, that's going to be a lot of money. And two, this is going to make a great YouTube video, and it's going to go viral, and I'm going to become super famous. That's what I remember thinking in my
Love
head.
it.
You know, but in the back of my head, I was like, this is ridiculous. This is not going to change anything. This is not going to, you know, there's all these like misconceptions as to, some people think that like a really heavy guitar is great for sustain, and other people think that a really light guitar is like great for sustain. You know,
this is what I'm talking about.
And it's like, it's these things. It's like people just,
these
like,
urban legends.
these they like bulldogs will just grab onto these things, and it's like you can't convince them otherwise.
Right.
You know, but specifically with this one, I remember I did all the work. It was super unconventional. I did a bunch of stuff that like I was like, I so stressed.
Yeah.
So stressed. And I did a bunch of dumb things. Like, and I've left that video. You can go watch it just as a reminder for me of how.
Don't go back there.
Yeah. Stupid.
Yeah.
A thing like that was.
Yeah.
Because it took so much time.
Did you succeed? Was he
No,
happy?
no. I mean, I did. I took a whole pound off of it.
Okay.
But
was that enough to satisfy?
No, I mean it was, but it wasn't what he was. It was an
You didn't manage
unrealistic
it.
no, and
Yeah.
it's like that's where like inexperience.
Yeah.
You know, like
You should have
really.
been like, it's gonna look ugly, or it's gonna be a lot of work, a
yeah.
lot of money for not a lot of difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and it's especially for a guy that probably could have just gotten the guitar that he wanted. You know,
exactly.
and but whatever. I mean, again, it's like I had all these like visions of grandeur and.
Did you, as a result, did you stop offering certain services? Because I had to do that, where I used to offer super custom stuff, and I had to stop because of folks like this.
Yes, it just made me question myself and question my thought process of like what I'm agreeing to.
Sure.
Because it was such an unconventional thing, it's like I'm not gonna put on my website like I don't do whatever, right. But I'm glad I did it because again, like I learned so much from that.
Of course,
I was
that's
just
important.
like, oh, okay, I see.
Would you do that today?
No.
Still?
No.
Even with your experience?
Nope.
Since?
No.
Okay, but you won't do it. But do you now have a better idea of how to approach something like that?
Yes, and that's
Still
what I'm saying.
a bad idea.
It's still, and that's why it's
Yeah.
like that's the experience. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, dude, would you keep dating a stripper?
Sure.
If
Tell me more about this trip.
no, like if you're like, okay, yeah, I mean, now I'm talking shit on strippers, dude. Everyone's gonna hate me, dude.
Yeah,
on
I
this
don't know.
episode.
You know, everyone's got an honest job.
Do you know what I
dude.
mean? It's like
let them make their living, bro.
Whoever, you know what I mean? It's like if you keep doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Of like, okay, you like, dude,
Yeah.
if I took something on like that again, I'd be a fool. That'd be like just because I know how much time and effort went into that.
Right.
And how like the expectation you're not gonna get.
Right.
And to actually do it properly, it's really, really expensive. And I don't have the tools. And it becomes such a commitment as to like, well, then do I want to go down that path?
Right.
You know, and it's like there's a fun aspect to stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's kind of like you have to think outside the box.
Yeah, sometimes those are inviting challenges.
But then it's like, you have to be very careful as to how much of that stuff you do.
Right.
Because it does take a lot of brain power and
for sure.
And it wears you out.
Yeah.
And I think on a smaller scale, like the whole pot thing that
I was going to say, on a smaller version, you mentioned the pots.
Yeah.
Do you...
I get it. I understand why people want to do it.
Sure.
And I get it too from a manufacturer point of view or like a company. It's
of
like,
course.
you're...
It takes more time to make sure everything's in a 1% tolerance, which means more money, which means more expensive pots. So if you offer like a 10% tolerance...
It's like going to a nice restaurant.
Yeah.
And they're just using, like nicer ingredients and whatnot. So I do get it, but it's the expectation that I feel that you have to, for me, I have to manage, and I need to make sure that the client is aware of that. Yeah, sure, you could have a 2-rock amp. You can have the most perfect setup.
Yeah.
Like scientifically just like engineered.
Yes.
Perfection.
On paper,
beautiful.
spec, everything is,
and then you go do a gig. And this is the part where it's like, when you're on tour and it's like, I don't think people realize like things that are just out of your control. And I'm not saying a bad sound guy, but it's like you're playing an amphitheater that is just, known for having horrible sounds.
Right.
And then you have to tweak certain things. And do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
or like you have like what kind of mic are you using? Are you mic? Like there's so many variables that sure you can go down that path.
Yeah.
It's going to get really, really expensive.
Yeah.
John Mayer can be John Mayer.
Yeah.
Because he can afford to be John Mayer.
Right.
You can't.
Right.
And that's just the reality of it.
Right.
When in my mind.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with like wanting to have all these things.
Right.
But I think the problem is when people come back and they're like, hey, this doesn't quite sound like
Right.
that expectation
Right.
wasn't managed,
Yeah.
and it's hard. It's hard, I think, as a, what we do to be like, well, sometimes it's kind of like surprising because I'm like, wait, like you're kind of like a pro. Like I don't understand how you didn't.
Right.
Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the differences are there, even in these minute things, like a 470K pop versus 500. There's probably a tiny audible difference. I do wonder myself if, in the grand scheme, considering all of these variables, is now the choice to pursue this minute change, this minute difference for the people consuming your art, the audience, or is it just for you as a player? Do you think people are doing it? Like, do you think people are thinking like my audience is expecting this? Or do you think for the most part people are like, I know this is for me and this is what allows me to do what I do. And, that's what I need to do that. So do you think, which perspective do you think is happening more? Because I feel like sometimes people have this grand vision that, there's this expectation for them to have this certain element in their tone and their gear. And is that really real? Because once it's mic'd up, going through a PA, it's touched up by front of house processing, etc.
That's the expectation,
Sure.
where I'm more cautious of doing something when I'm like kind of like trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
If that's the expectation of
Sure.
like, I want to sound better for this, aka I somehow think that this is going to help my career.
Sure.
And we're all guilty of it.
Right. Yeah. I have my hangups that I'm like, I need this and I need that.
Yeah. It's like, dude, I can't show up to a audition with a Epiphone Les Paul. Like I need a real Les Paul.
Right.
Like I need, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I got to have a quad cortex because that's what everyone's using now.
Right.
And it's like, sure. Yeah, go ahead. You know what I mean? It's like,
are some things even possible? Like I've overheard conversations you've had, about intonation, tuning being perfect. This always goes out of tune, or this sounds out of tune. Considering we're working with how old is the design of the electric guitar, which for some reason we're very stuck on recreating over several decades instead of, if you made it perfect, people would hate it probably. Are those expectations possible when people ask for stuff like that?
I think so.
Okay.
I think overall, and again, I'm guilty of this. It's a form of kind of procrastinating, I think.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I can't get this done because my cable is this capacitance. So, and it's like, just make something and shut up.
But it's
Sorry.
hard because then it's like that. It's like, it's a responsibility of like, God, I don't want to make anything because I don't feel like making anything.
It's because the intonation on the 12th fret is.
Sometimes that's the truth.
Yeah.
But then just,
a lot of stuff was made where people did not. Sometimes you hear those chords around the 12th fret and you hear them go on a recording. It's like, it's a hit song.
I mean, I think of, dude, I mean, some of my favorite albums, like Stevie Ray Vaughan's version of Little Wing.
Yeah.
There's a part where you can hear a lot, actually. You can hear the amp humming.
Yeah.
And dude, I just think that's so awesome, man.
Yeah. Some of my favorite, I'm a big Police fan. And especially the albums in Yada Mandata. If you listen to like Don't Stand So Close to Me.
Ooh, I thought you were going to say like LAPD or something.
Stupid ass. The opening of like Don't Stand So Close to Me or Driven to Tears, because Andy was known for using the Electro Harmonix flanger, the deluxe or the Electric Mistress, and it's known for being noisy, and you can hear in the background it's just going shh. very lightly. And I think that stuff is rad. Whereas some people are like, oh, I can't have it. Dude, there's noise. Can you read?
This can't go on my SoundCloud like this, dude.
AI is going to be trained to put noise in my tracks. Which kind of goes along with what I do because there's this expectation, probably because companies tell people that this is possible. Influencers tell people this is possible. Brands that are influencers, builders that are influencers tell people this is possible. If you build with me, you'll have the perfect, quietest rig. So then they'll come to me and say, well, so-and-so said this is possible. And I'm like, first of all, no. I feel like if you're going through a pedal board, a big pedal board, small pedal board, there's always going to be some level of like, maybe you get a little bit of white noise. Some digital pedals go through different levels of quality in regards to AD/DA conversion and stuff like that. And they're like, I just hear this white noise. Watch, if you turn the amp up to 10, you can hear it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, of course, or, when I plug into my amp, it sounds amazing. When I plug into the board, it sounds kind of different. Watch, let me turn it all the way up and you can hear the difference. I'm like, of course. First of all, I feel like plugging into a pedal board, well, the whole thing is like, well, I use this buffer that this influencer said. It'll sound exactly the same as plugging into an amp. Anything you put in your signal chain, immediately forget it. You're not going to sound just like plugging into an amp. We go for as close as we can. That's the goal. That's all we can do. But then people show up and they're like, it sounds slightly different. There's a little less high end. There's more high end. And it's like, of course, you have all this stuff between your guitar and this amp or whatever. I do feel like there's a very interesting, unrealistic expectation. And I have to still, to this day, work on helping people manage those. Because when I started, I feel like
your playing career or your build, like
my pedal board
okay,
building.
Cool, yeah.
I feel like I kind of hit the ground running and started working with some semi-established or established players from the beginning that had these high expectations, and I was just like, okay, well, you're so and so, so I'll agree.
Oh wait, relieve your pedal board.
Yeah, exactly. And then they're like, I was using a different brand of cable that was not Mogami at the time because on paper it was actually better than Mogami, but it didn't say Mogami. So people were hung up on, what's this cable? I was like, oh, it's by this brand.
Nogami.
I know exactly. Nogami.
Mogami, more like Nogami.
More like Nogami. And I said, look at the spec sheets. And they're like, well, I don't know, man. So-and-so online said Mogami's the best. And I was like, Mogami is great. And I said, ultimately, I'm saving you money because we're using a really high quality product that doesn't rely on branding. And it's more affordable. And it's on paper better. And then ultimately, once you're plugging into your pedals, like the first thing you hit is a buffer. Anything after that buffer is technically irrelevant. The cable doesn't matter for the most part to make a huge difference. But a couple guys were just so hung up. And they kept coming. I swear it sounds like the high end is not there. And I'm like, what? At some point, it's like the worst part was dealing with some of those. And then, sorry, guys, hearing them play after going through all of that crap, trying to figure out their perfect high end, their perfect this and that. And then they plug in and I was like, this is what I killed myself for? Yeah. I was like, you hear these things because you don't practice. You need to practice, I think. Anyway, that's a bigger topic. But
that's what I'm saying. I think it becomes a way of procrastinating.
Yeah.
Of like, well, I don't want to practice.
I sound bad. It must be the not Mogami.
And then I'm going to spend 10 hours looking at YouTube videos and blah, blah, blah.
And I'm going to send them to this guy who built my pedal board so he knows.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've watched all those videos a long time ago. And that's why I do this, so you don't have to worry about it. And it has driven me pretty crazy. Like some of these characters that watched some videos and they learned, oh, well, it's supposed to be totally noise-free, the best high-end I've ever heard. And or even just like other things like, well, the board needs to fit this backpack, but it needs to fit all this gear, but it needs to fit this backpack. And they can't be too close together because if I step on this, I'm going to step on that, but it needs to fit this backpack. And so I have pulled off some stuff that honestly is insane, that should not have been possible. And then I get it to them and they're like, yeah, look, if I step on this, look, you see how my foot's kind of close? And I'm like, what do you want? Yeah. You want it to fit this backpack? Then we have to do this, okay? I feel like I've built myself my own board. The stuff's kind of close together because I wanted it to fit a certain case. I just adjust. I'm like, I know these two are close together, so I'm going to just... But some people, for some reason, are like, no, what?
Yeah.
Adjust my approach to how I step on the... I can't just stomp on it. I have to, like, carefully. There's no way. I can't
stand on my pedal board?
Yeah. Oh, I had a client, literally, he's like, the thing is, I need to have a thing I can stand on because it's like, I use my pedal board also as like a what do you call it? Ego boost box or whatever. Yeah. So it's just really interesting. And how do you, I'm just like, how do I explain to folks like, so now I'm just like, that's not possible. We'll get as close as possible. But some people seem to really rely, they get convinced that their success is contingent on this pedal board needs to be, it needs to be my tube screamer because the artist that I'm recording for is going to know that I sound different when I play a blues breaker pedal instead. And it's like, hate to break it to you, but no. Literally distort to anyone that's not a guitar player, any overdrive sounds like any overdrive. And you're going to be great. You're going to play great. It's crazy how many great players I work with that are convinced they can't play as well or something or sound as good through this thing. When I'm like, you're one of the best players I've ever heard. Literally, you could play through a broomstick and you're going to sound amazing. Anyway, it's really interesting. And
I think the only caveat to that one would be like in a studio.
Sure.
It's like you want to try different colors and little nuances and stuff like that. Yeah. But for the most part, it's kind of like, look.
Sorry, I got a little passionate there, dude.
I know, dude. I was like, damn, man. Shit, damn.
Welcome to my podcast.
Yeah. Damn, girl.
My therapy podcast. No, it's just.
But would you say that going through all that stuff, I mean, it's made you.
Absolutely necessary. Yeah, for sure.
That's what's funny about this whole thing.
Yeah. And now, even I know, like, I know how to get it perfect now. You know what I mean? Or as close to perfect as possible. But mostly because you start working with managing expectations and saying, instead of say, whatever you want, you're right. Say, hey, yeah, we can get very close. It's never going to be the same. And usually when you just open with that, they're like, oh, of course. Let's just get as close as possible.
Yeah.
But if you don't say that, then they show up expecting.
But I think that's just like like I said, it's like I feel like when you're just first starting out and you are dealing with people that are like in our industry that, they maybe don't hear no very often.
Yeah, that's true.
But I guess it's like actually, the confidence of just sticking to my guns where it's like, no, that's not true.
Yeah.
Where before I'd be like, and then there's certain things. Well, there's certain things. It's like, again, for me, it's like I'm more curious as to like, what are you expecting from this? Is this more for you in the sense of like, this is like a little quirk that you have, which I'm fine with.
We all have them. I have them.
Or are you doing this because you genuinely think that you're going to, for the crowd, and then you. It's not, you're not doing this pickup swap for you. You're doing this because you think that you're going to sound better in the band, therefore more crowd cheering.
Sure. Ain't going to happen.
It's like the whole like,
Now, if that pickup swap helps you do what you do the best way, that does initiate the cheering crowd.
That's what it is. But
exactly.
that's
so just acknowledge it's for you.
Yeah. But it's connecting that dot because otherwise it's like, well, these pickups are noisy now.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, they're different.
Yeah.
They're different from what you had.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily noisy.
Right.
Now it's like, now you've opened this Pandora's box of like, well, maybe it's one of my pedals, or maybe it's my amp. It's like, well, what are your,
and then
what
it comes to me,
what
like, Louis
in-ears are you
said
using?
the pedal board is,
and it's like, and then it's like, you get drawn into these long, just like, like.
Nothing is more disappointing to me than pickup swaps. To me, it never sounds that different. I know there's a sidebar, but anyway.
No, I mean, it's,
I'm always
it's hard. I mean, I used to.
That sounds like a humbucker.
I used to recommend guitar pickups all the time. People would ask me, they'd be like,
can't do that.
People would ask me like, oh, what do you think? I'd be like, oh, you know what? And then I would do it and then be like, I don't like them. And then now it's this expectation as to like, oh, now I feel responsible for finding your pickups that you want.
This is a topic for next.
and you want me to do them for free? You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
But I mean, man, I've been doing this now for a long time, and I'm happy that I've reached this level to like, I confidently just tell people it's so subjective.
Yeah.
Go do your homework.
Yeah.
Try your best.
Yeah.
I'll wire them clean and perfect, and I'll dial them in as best as I can.
Yeah.
But those pickups and their characteristics are for you to pick.
Well, if I may say so, if anybody brings their shit to you, it is going to be perfect because
that's like same with you with the we're kissing each other's ass, but that's the job though.
Right.
Like I can say the same thing about you.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Yours is just to make sure like mechanically,
right?
Everything like it's going to be great, clean, and that part I will guarantee.
Yeah.
But the subjective parts I can't.
Right.
Because I don't know what expectations you have from them.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part of like, are you, like I said, I'm kind of taking it from this point of view of like, are you procrastinating? Are you like just like bored? Are you just like, I just want some new pickups?
Yeah.
Like, cool, great. Or are you really like, dude, I have this audition for Katy Perry and I got to get these like EMG. I got to get these like EMG 81s because blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Deep topic today, man.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know did we answer
I don't know. I felt there was a lot of good points made.
Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you got the money, if you want that like specific, just perfect thing, I mean, go for it.
We'll always work hard for our people.
Sure.
And we'll always strive to get as close as possible to that end goal.
For sure.
Sometimes, though, it's just a managing expectation, which seems to be a common theme in our previous episodes.
I mean, we should probably just change the name to this podcast.
Managing expectations. Anyway.
Anyways.
That was good, man. That was,
long. Yeah, hopefully this wasn't too long-winded. What do you think, Enrique?
Is Enrique happy?
Yeah,
no.
Sure.
We love Enrique.
He's gonna make
us look and sound smart. Well, anyway, that was a fun one, man. Felt good about that.
Yeah.
So, if you guys got any feedback or comments or anything, any topics you guys are curious about that we can bring up, feel like we've got quite a bit of experience between the two of us out here doing this thing.
Hell yeah.
We'll be happy to see if we can cover that. Like, subscribe, help us out.
Share it.
I almost called you Luigi. Luigi's got a Lamborghini fund.
I do have a Lamborghini fund going,
Buy
man.
his damn shirts. He's got so many shirts. Nobody's buying them. Mountains in the hallway, dude. It's insane. I think he spent like $15,000 on like 10 shirts. No.
That's
Please
hilarious.
Buy his shirt. I can't walk through the hallway without stepping on shirts. And pedals. He's got. Anyway.
I'm selling
Keep an eye on Fender /Reverb for all his gear.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's hilarious, Johnny. I got my famous Lamborghini fund. Help a brother out. I have a very lavish, expensive lifestyle that I need to keep up, especially with a child on the way.
A bambino.
So, help a brother out. I plan to make no sacrifices So please
Great.
supplement my lifestyle.
Please.
But no, I'm kidding, kind of. I do have t-shirts for sale. And follow me on Instagram, Modern Guitar Tech.
Cute rigs for me.
And that's
Enrique Hinojosa, if you want to see the handsome man that's making us.
Someday we'll reveal how beautiful this man is. And it's how hard it is to focus.
Yeah, that's why we're so distracted.
yeah.
Anyway, thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next time. Peace.